Well, folks, it looks like the Seahawks are making some moves to bolster their receiving core. After releasing veteran Tyler Lockett and seeing DK Metcalf request a trade, though he ended up in Pittsburgh, they were definitely in the market for some playmakers. And they've landed a big one in Cooper Kupp. Kupp, who spent his entire 8-year NFL career with the Rams, is now heading back to his home state of Washington. He even confirmed the deal on social media, saying he was coming home. You gotta love a good homecoming story. Now, let's not forget what Kupp is capable of. He was a huge part of the Rams' Super Bowl winning team in 2021, even earning Super Bowl MVP honors. That season was absolutely insane for him. He won the receiving triple crown, leading the league in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. However, his production has dipped a bit since then. This past season, he had 710 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. But hey, maybe a change of scenery and a return to his roots is exactly what he needs to reignite that spark. The Seahawks are getting a seasoned veteran who knows how to win and has proven he can be one of the best receivers in the league when healthy. He'll be joining a receiving group that currently features the young talent of Jackson Smith-Njigba. Kupp's experience and leadership could be invaluable for that young core. It's definitely an interesting move for both Kupp and the Seahawks. Kupp gets to play closer to home, and the Seahawks get a potentially high-impact receiver. We'll have to see how he fits into their offense. But on paper, this looks like a solid addition for Seattle. What do you think, Seahawks fans? Are you excited about Cooper Kupp coming home? Let us know in the comments. Remember right before the Super Bowl when Myles Garrett was hinting pretty strongly that he wanted a trade from the Cleveland Browns? He said some things about wanting to win and not being sure if that could happen in Cleveland. Well, fast forward a bit, and Garrett has signed a massive 4-year, $160 million contract extension with the Browns. Funny how things work out, isn't it? Now, Garrett is saying he's happy to be back, and at a recent press conference, complete with a table full of dinosaur toys. A nod to his hobby, he stated that it's always been about winning for him, not the money. He acknowledged the skepticism around that, saying, "I think the fans will see that my heart's in the right place. It's never been about money. It's always been about winning. And that's where my frustration lies." Look, nobody can blame Garrett for taking that kind of money. He's now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. That's a sign of respect. And it's hard to turn down that kind of security. But it's also understandable why some fans might raise an eyebrow when he says it was never about the contract, especially after publicly requesting a trade. Garrett insists his trade request came with a heavy heart and that he's always wanted to end his career in Cleveland. He even compared the situation to a family fight, saying, "Like family, sometimes you fight and you have to go through things and build through adversity. We'll get through this and come out right on the other side." The Browns are coming off a rough 3-14 season and still have some major questions at quarterback. So, you can see why Garrett might have been frustrated. He's an elite talent who wants to compete for a Super Bowl. He believes he can still do that in Cleveland, even after that tough season. Interestingly, there was a report that Garrett has been frequently late to the team facility and has missed some mandatory activities. That might be another point of contention between him and the Browns. Ultimately, Garrett is back in Cleveland. He's got a massive new contract. And he's saying all the right things about wanting to win. Only time will tell if his actions on and off the field will truly convince everyone that his heart is in the right place and that it really is about bringing a championship to Northeast Ohio. It seems like the Giants were initially playing the cool card, giving Aaron Rodgers all the time and space he needed to figure out his next move. But according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, their patience is starting to wear thinner than a cornerback in single coverage against a top receiver. She reports that everybody is waiting, everyone's frustrated, and it sounds like the Giants are almost at the point where they're just trying to find a plan B just in case this whole Rodgers thing doesn't pan out. You can't really blame them, can you? To that end, the Giants have reportedly hosted veteran quarterback Joe Flacco for a visit. And if that wasn't enough to raise an eyebrow, they're also bringing in 10-time Pro Bowler Russell Wilson for a visit. It looks like Giants GM Joe Schoen is officially saying, "Rodgers, we like you, but we've got other options." Interestingly, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are also reportedly interested in Rodgers, are apparently still in limbo. just waiting to see what he decides. Rossini suggests the Steelers might not have as many backup plans if Rodgers chooses not to play for them. It sounds like the Giants are being a bit more proactive in their approach. It's still anyone's guess when Rodgers will finally make his decision about the 2025 season. But one thing seems clear. The New York Giants aren't content to just sit around and hope. They're starting to explore their alternatives. And it'll be interesting to see if Rodgers' delay ultimately costs him a potential opportunity in the Big Apple. You can almost hear the ticking clock in the background, can't you? So, Russell Wilson's tour of potential new teams continues. After his visit with the Cleveland Browns on Thursday, it looks like he's heading out of town without a contract in hand. The Browns were reportedly kicking the tires on the veteran quarterback. But for now, no deal has been struck. But don't worry. Wilson isn't sitting around twiddling his thumbs. He's got another big visit lined up for Friday with the New York Giants. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, it seems like Wilson is keeping his options wide open as he searches for his next NFL home. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers are still in the mix, but they seem to be playing the waiting game with Aaron Rodgers. They're apparently hoping Rodgers will decide he wants to play for them in 2025. However, the Steelers did make a bit of a surprising move by re-signing their former third-round pick, quarterback Mason Rudolph, on Thursday. Could this mean they're less inclined to pursue Wilson if Rodgers doesn't pan out? It's definitely something to keep an eye on. The article suggests that Wilson's publicized visits with the Browns and now the Giants might be a way for him to put some pressure on the Steelers to make a decision on their quarterback situation. It's like a game of high-stakes chess in the NFL offseason. Wilson had a decent season with the Steelers in 2024. Thrown for over 2.400 yards with 16 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. He also added a couple of rushing touchdowns. So, he's still got some gas left in the tank. It looks like the quarterback dominoes are starting to fall. And Wilson's decision could have a ripple effect across the league. Will he end up in the Big Apple with the Giants? Will the Steelers come back to the table if Rodgers goes elsewhere? Or could there be another surprise team lurking in the shadows? Stay tuned, folks, because this NFL offseason is far from over. So, Davante Adams is officially a Los Angeles Ram, and apparently, Sean McVay wasn't messing around when he wanted to bring him to LA. Adams described McVay's recruiting style with one word, aggressive, but he clarified it was, in all the right ways though. And what exactly did this, aggressive, recruitment entail? Well, McVay apparently sent Adams a couple of personalized highlight tapes, narrated by himself. Adams even compared it to something former Raiders coach John Gruden would do. Breaking down every single clip. The first tape was 7 minutes long, and the second was another 2 minutes of McVay just going through everything and talking about it. Adams admitted he initially thought McVay had taken a TV job when he was watching the tapes. But he said it just showed how much football means to McVay and how much of a priority Adams was for him and the Rams. When you're a free agent and you see that level of effort from a coach, it definitely means a lot. Adams even joked that it felt like he got ganged up a little bit. But since he ended up signing with the Rams, he clearly didn't mind too much. It turns out this wasn't the first connection between Adams and McVay. They actually met a few years ago at the Kentucky Derby. And McVay mentioned then that he wanted to team up with Adams in the future. So, when the opportunity arose, McVay didn't hesitate to go all in on recruiting him. Adams said it feels good to be wanted and to know that the Rams organization values what he can still bring to the game. He's excited to return to his home state of California and play for a contender. It sounds like McVay's unique and dedicated recruiting approach definitely played a big role in landing this star receiver. You gotta give credit to McVay for going the extra mile, or the extra highlight tape, to get his guy. So, we all know Myles Garrett requested a trade, then got a king's ransom from the Browns to stay. He even said it was all about winning, not the money. But now, a report from The Athletic is painting a different picture of Garrett's presence within the team. According to Jason Lloyd's report, it's well known within the Browns that Garrett is frequently late to the facility. He has skipped mandatory team activities on multiple occasions. Yikes, that's not exactly the kind of behavior you'd expect from your highest paid player. The guy you're hoping will be a cornerstone of your franchise turnaround. The timing of this report is definitely interesting. coming just a month after Garrett signed that record-breaking contract extension worth $160 million. With over $123 million guaranteed. You have to wonder why this information is surfacing now. The report suggests that Garrett might act a bit entitled and doesn't always take the kind of leadership responsibility that you'd expect from a player of his caliber. While his on-field dominance is undeniable, he's arguably one of the best defensive players in the league. This report raises questions about his impact on the team culture and locker room. The Browns clearly believe that Garrett's talent is worth the investment, even if there are some off-field concerns. But you have to wonder how this kind of behavior sits with the rest of the team. Being consistently late and skipping mandatory events doesn't exactly scream team leader. It's a tough situation for the Browns. They've invested heavily in Garrett, hoping he'll be a key piece in their quest for a Super Bowl. But this report suggests there might be more to the story than just his dominant play on Sundays. It will be interesting to see if the Browns address this report and how it might affect Garrett's standing within the team moving forward.